Welcome to the inaugural episode of Patriots Pulse Preview. I'm your host, John Sarianides, and I have the good fortune to be joined by a good friend of mine who I've done radio for a long time, John Sapochetti. John, how are you this morning?
Doing okay. Looking forward to today's Patriots-Carolina Panthers game, one that I think the Patriots should be able to win. They're the better team. They're at home, and we saw what Carolina did last week with an impressive performance over the Atlanta Falcons. I don't see Carolina putting back-to-back games together like that. So pretty optimistic about the Patriots this week, but we'll dive into what the Carolina Panthers are all about. But just so happy to be joining you, John. We've done radio for 14 years. You and a few other people, my favorite people to work with, and I think it's going to be an interesting year this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we're coming to you about 3 weeks later, but this isn't really a pregame show per se. It's really to educate Patriot fans on today's opponent, which is the Carolina Panthers, who, like the Patriots, coming into this game off they're 1-2, I should say, coming off this game. Or coming into this game, I should say. I don't know what I want to say, but they're coming into this game on the heels of a 30-0 win over the Atlanta Falcons. And John, let's just get right into this. Obviously, on paper, when you look at this matchup, defensively for the Patriots, it's a pretty favorable matchup. This Carolina team is in the 20s statistically in a lot of offensive categories. They only average 20.7 points per game. And I think when you look at their numbers, they're pretty misleading because a lot of their numbers are coming, like I mentioned, are due in large part to their big win last week against the Atlanta Falcons, who, let's face it, are one of the most frustrating teams in the league to figure out. On paper, they're a talented team, but they just can't seem to consistently put it together no matter who the coach is. Nonetheless, big win for Dave Canales' Panthers. They pick up their first win of the season. This is an organization that through the years, and you and I talked about this earlier, this is an organization through the years that has been very up and down, the Carolina Panthers, right? You go back to 1995, they made the NFC Championship game, lost to the Green Bay Packers. Then you fast forward a few years later, they have Jake Delhomme, Steve Smith Sr., Julius Peppers, that group, lose to the Patriots in one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time. Then you fast forward to 2011, they take Cam Newton first overall. Then you have that Cam Newton era. They get to Super Bowl 50, where they lose to Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos. This is a franchise that through the years has been very up and down. Now, when they've been good, and it's been sustained. I mean, they've been competitive for 4 or 5 years. It's been a while since Cam Newton left town that this Carolina team has been competitive. You could say they've been in a rebuild. On paper, at the beginning of the year, when we looked at this game, this was one of those check it off type of wins for the Patriots. I'm not sure we could say that given where the Patriots are, coming off of a 21-14 loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers where they turned the ball over 5 times. But on paper, the Patriots are the better football team. In my opinion, they're the better football team really across the board. It's just a matter, can they put it together and play more disciplined, cleaner football? If they can do that, this is a winnable game, right? Based on what we know about this Carolina Panther team?
Oh, without question. The Panthers aren't really good running the football. They average 3.7 yards per carry, which is 25th in the league. They give up 5.4 yards per carry, which is also 25th in the league. So if the Patriots can stop the Panthers running game, which they should be able to do, now you put Bryce Young in some really difficult positions, and we know the Patriots can rush the passer, and neither one of us are big fans of Bryce Young. We're kind of, we like our quarterbacks bigger than that. And as far as running the football in Carolina, you could do that. If the Patriots can establish the run game, set up some play action, open up the playbook for Drake May, they should be able to score points. The problem is, as our Kevin Stone highlighted earlier in the week, the Patriots are 3-16 at home since the start of the 2023 season. And you look at those 3 wins, one was Mac Jones' best performance as a Patriot over Buffalo back in 2023. 2 wins last year came against the Jets when Jacoby Brissett entered the game in the second quarter for a banged-up Drake May. And then the last game of the season where the Buffalo Bills did not want to win. They didn't want to play. So they really haven't had like a signature home win since 2022. Beating the Bills in 2023, sure, that's good, but it just was like a perfect storm for them. Be nice to maybe see Drake May late in the game taking a knee and being congratulated really for what would be his real first home win. He gets credit for the wins over the Jets and Buffalo last year as the starting quarterback. But I think the Patriots have a better roster. The key, obviously, turnovers, penalties. That's where the Patriots have been very sloppy this year, which is a surprise to us. We both think that Mike Vrabel is a top-tier coach and that he's going to coach all those mistakes out of the players, but it takes time. As you know, as a coach yourself, it doesn't happen in 1 month. It takes a little bit of time, and you got to clean that up and put yourself in a better position to win than the Patriots were able to do last week. I thought they were the better team than Pittsburgh last week, but Pittsburgh won the game because of turnover battle.
Yeah, they outgained them over almost 2-1. Time of possession, there was over 10-minute advantage. I mean, the bottom line is, to your point, you can't turn the ball over 5 times. You can't turn the ball over twice in the red zone. Not only in the red zone, you turn the ball over twice inside the 5. I don't care what level of football it is. You do those things, you are asking to lose. And I've always said, you turn the ball over once, okay, you can overcome that. You turn over the ball twice, 2 is too many. And at the end of the day, it could cost you the game. Anything more than 2, you're going to lose the football game more than likely. The odds are against you. So at the end of the day, yes, I think going into this season, John, to your point, I think we all thought that this team would play better fundamental football under Mike Vrabel. They would be a cleaner football team fundamentally and technically. We haven't seen that so far. In fact, through 3 weeks, when you look at the underlying numbers, they were a more disciplined team under Gerard Mayo than they've been under Mike Vrabel.
Which is a surprise. Obviously, we think Vrabel is the better coach, has a better coaching staff than they had last year under Gerard Mayo. So that's a surprise. But the bigger surprise to me, John, is Vrabel's reaction to this. Like, you would think maybe behind closed doors he's getting on the team. But in terms of what he says in public, it doesn't seem like it's a massive concern, and he's not going nuclear over, which is kind of a surprise because this team's not good enough to play loose, turn the ball over 3 times, and just win because they have this explosive offense. They can't do that. They have to win on the margins, and they have to avoid losing games. And we know more often than not, teams lose games rather than win games in the NFL. Turnovers, penalties, special teams plays, those types of things. That's where we thought the Patriots would be buttoned up this year. So far, it hasn't been the case.
No, it hasn't. And I think, look, a lot of people have talked about, is this a talent thing? Is it a lack of talent? Is that what's driving this? I don't think it is. I don't think it's a lack of talent that's driving this at all. I think it's a lack of focus and a lack of playing the game the way you should play it fundamentally. I think that is ultimately what the problem is here. At the end of the day, when you turn over the ball that much, when you commit 7 penalties for 54 yards, granted Pittsburgh had 8 penalties in the game, but when you commit that many penalties, when you turn over the ball that many times, when you play so undisciplined, and your quarterback, look, when you look at Drake May statistically, he's actually on track to have a really good second year. The problem is, though, the missed throws, the untimely turnovers, his performances have been marred by those mistakes. And in many ways, as much as you want to judge him statistically, John, you're going to judge him more on the mistakes at this stage of the game. He's making too many of them, and it's a problem. And we can sit here and say whatever we want about this Carolina Panther football team coming into town today, but the fact of the matter is they're good enough, and we saw this last week against Atlanta when you watch the tape, they are good enough to get pressure on the quarterback. They are good enough to force the quarterback into making mistakes. They are good enough into capitalizing on those mistakes. And so if Drake May plays the way he did last week, he's going to put the Patriots in a position, once again, if he turns the ball over 2 times in this game, he's going to put them in a position where they could lose this football game. It's plain and simple. Conversely, if he plays the way he did against Miami, Patriots should take care of business and win this game. But at the end of the day, you know, you've talked about this, and you and I have talked about this privately in conversation. The margin for error in the National Football League is razor thin. It's razor thin because the talent level is so high and the gap in talent is minimal, right? It's minimal. So there's not, even though the Patriots, in my opinion, are the better team on paper, the talent discrepancy isn't so wide or so big that if New England decides to come out and play like crap again, like they did last week from a fundamental standpoint, that it's not going to matter. They're going to overcome it because they're just that much better. They are not just that much better.
Not at all. And John, to back you up on that, 70% of all NFL games are decided by a single score. So 2/3, if not more, of the games decided by a single score. So that's why we're watching late into the fourth quarter, see what teams could do. They're not a lot of blowouts. There was last week with Carolina over Atlanta, but that's more Atlanta than Carolina. Atlanta is the head-scratching team of the NFL. I mean, they beat Minnesota 22-6 in week 2 and then come back and lose 30-0 to Carolina. Who can figure that team out? But yeah, absolutely. I think Drake May had a couple of throws last week against Pittsburgh that were kind of head-scratching. There was one where he was in the pocket and he kind of gunned it from his side. It ended up going very low. I think it was Pop Douglas, and it was just a horrible throw. I mean, it was just
that was the
nowhere
one
near
that Chucky Clark almost picked him off on.
Right? Yeah. When he threw that, I'm like, what
or
exactly
Chuck
is he
Clark.
doing?
I call them Chucky Clark, like he's 5. But you know what I'm saying.
You're close to Chucky. I mean, that's when we get to that point, we just call each other. Just don't call me Johnny, and I won't call you Johnny. We're both Johns. I think that would work out a lot better. But that throw was like, what exactly is he thinking? Where did the mechanics go? Where did his brain go? I mean, when he played against Miami the week before.
John, to your point, you saw this during training camp, though.
Sure.
He would miss guys open in training camp routinely. And there were some practices where I don't care whether you're a fan or a member of the media, it was frustrating to watch because you're like, from a talent standpoint, John, this kid's top 10 in the league. He's got top 10 talent. But sometimes you wonder what's going on between the ears here because he misses open guys. He airmails passes. When things break down, he's either going to put it down and run after he makes his second read in his progression, or he's just going to get sacked. He has no pocket awareness. So Drake May has a lot of physical tools, but I just think right now, when you look at the way he's playing the game from a mental standpoint, he's not playing it at a high level, John. He's just not. To your point, he should have been picked off at least that one time that you mentioned right there. And potentially, when you look at all 3 games so far this season, he could very easily have another 2 or 3 interceptions. So it's got to be frustrating if you're Josh McDaniels to watch this because you're coaching a talented young man, but he is just, I don't know if he's trying to do too much, but the bottom line here is when you watch him play, he can be very frustrating.
Is the game too fast for him? Again, he's only 23 years old. It's his second season. He played 2 full seasons at North Carolina. He's on his 4th different offensive coordinator.
I think that's a great point that you make, by the way. He only had 26 career college starts at North Carolina. Conversely, Jaden Daniels had 55.
Right.
So, yes, the lack of playing time at North Carolina shows up at times in the NFL. But I'm glad you asked me about the speed of the game. It could be, from a processing standpoint right now, he could still be trying to get acclimated. Again, he has the physical tools to play in the league. But, yeah, the game might be too fast for him in terms of what he's seeing.
Yeah, I mean, the reasonable facsimile for him is Justin Herbert. I know people like to say Josh Allen. That guy's a freak.
He's not Josh Allen.
No, Josh Allen, we're compared to John Elway, who I think is the most gifted quarterback in the history of the sport. I didn't say he's the greatest quarterback in the history of the sport. That's Tom Brady. But if you throw all the quarterbacks into a similar situation, teammates, opponents, era, I think John Elway is the greatest quarterback ever. So let's leave the Josh Allen comparison off to the side because that guy is the closest thing I've seen to John Elway. Justin Herbert, if he turns out to be Justin Herbert, that's darn good. But now you look at the support that Justin Herbert has. He has a running game. He has a very good skill set around him, and he has an offensive line and a coach that really prioritizes building that offensive line. That's what we're going to have Drake May get to as he continues to progress through all of his growing pains. Because, again, he's a young guy, doesn't have as much experience as some of these other quarterbacks that come into the league. And it's just, he's got to be more consistent. He's got to eliminate those bad habit throws, which
we're getting to a point here, by the way, Sap. We're not going to be able to see your mouth soon.
Oh,
so
okay.
There we go. We need that camera adjustment. I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly, John. I think at the end of the day, like I said, the physical tools are there, but what separates guys, what makes guys great, what ends up making them all-time greats? It's consistency. It's the ability to do it week in and week out. And, yeah, you're not going to be perfect week in and week out, and you're not going to win every single week. We were fortunate enough for 20 years to watch Tom Brady play quarterback for the New England Patriots. He was the model of consistency. That is why he's the greatest quarterback of all time. And it's interesting because at the Patriots Hall of Fame ceremony on Saturday, former Patriot Willie McGinnis told a story about Bill Parcells where he talked about, he talked about that he had 4 straight really good games And the first 3 games in that streak, Parcells said nothing to him. Then after the 4th game, the next week they're at practice, and Parcells walks up to him and acknowledges his really good stretch of play. But then Parcells says to McGinnis, but you've got to do it every week because that's what makes you great. And so I think in the case of Drake May, yes, physically, he is a franchise quarterback. He has the tools to be top 10 at the position. But can you do this on a consistent basis? Can you play at an elite level week in and week out? If you can do that, then yes, you're going to be in that same company as Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. You're going to be in that conversation. Joe Burrow when he's healthy. Justin Herbert. You'll be in that range as well. But we've got to see it on a week-to-week basis. And again, a lot of the stuff that he does, and I think this is what's frustrating, a lot of the stuff that he does is just high schoolish, in my opinion. And that's the frustrating part, is that it's high schoolish. It's stuff that high schoolers do. You shouldn't be missing guys that are open at practice or in a game. It shouldn't be that hard for you.
He's missing layups, right? I mean, simple throws that are going to get you 6-7 yards, which is a win in the NFL. So now you're 2nd and 3, 2nd and 4, which is a great down to be at. Layups, the basic stuff that the quarterbacks have to be consistent on. He's an outstanding athlete, and he's very competitive. But you can get away with that stuff in high school, right? Because you're physically that much better than everyone. And even in North Carolina, he was on the field and was generally one of the best athletes. Well, welcome to the NFL, where you've got, Myles Garrett and those boys coming after you. You're not the best athlete on the field, and you've got to do it in more ways than one. So I think the consistency is obviously an issue with him, but it just seems to me that the game speeds up for him at some point, and I think that that's something he's going to have to clean up. Maybe as he gets more experience, maybe he gets more comfortable in Josh McDaniels' offense. Maybe the offensive line needs to get better, which we both agree it does have to get better.
They gave up 5 sacks last week, and they're going to have their hands full this week.
Yep.
With particularly inside with Derek Brown. He's a handful.
Right, exactly. So, and that's where quarterbacks don't like to see pressure coming up the middle. I think overall he's going to be a very good quarterback. Is he going to reach the levels that we talked about with those other 5 quarterbacks you mentioned? We'll have to see. He does have the physical talent to do that. Those guys have more experience, obviously, and they have a different skill set in some ways as far as their processing, reading defenses, doing things like that. But I'm still very optimistic that he's going to be an outstanding quarterback. But like any quarterback, I don't care who you are, you need a support system around you. And we talk about offensive lines all the time. That's your passion, and I believe it's the most important unit on a football team. When that offensive line, if it gets to the level it should get to, that's going to make his job a lot easier.
Right. It will. Right. But again, the great ones can play around that, right? The good ones can do without, if you will, at times. Now, with the offensive line, it's hard because if you don't have a good offensive line, we're seeing this happening in Cincinnati right now. If you don't have a good offensive line, your quarterback's going to hit a lot. He's going to get hurt. It's that simple. So it is important. And look, from a coaching standpoint, you can scheme up pass pro. You can run the football. You can find ways to protect your quarterback. But ultimately, this is a pass-first league. He's going to need to make plays in the passing game. The protection's going to need to be good. It was good against Miami. It was not good last week, as I mentioned. They gave up 5 sacks. Now, let's take a deeper look at the Carolina Panthers, and I do want to start with their defense, John. Obviously, I mentioned Derek Brown, but this isn't a team that on paper has a great pass rush. They do rely a lot on pressure and bringing pressure to get to the opposing quarterback and sack them. That's what they're going to do on Sunday or today, rather, I should say. The Patriots, I think, are going to see a lot of pressure. This is a team that's going to bring pressure from all over the place because, like I said, when you look at this team on paper, they don't have a lot of pass rushers in their base defense. This isn't a defense that's going to get after people that way. They're going to do it by blitzing.
Yeah, without question, they'll dial up some pressure, take those chances. They did that against Atlanta to a lot of success. You shut out a pretty talented offense in Atlanta, which, still has some talented players and just never got their offense going. I still think the run game is going to be so important for the Patriots because if you're able to average 5 yards a carry, look, that should be in play because the Panthers give up 5.4 yards per carry. If you can get 4.5, 5 yards per carry, now you're dictating what you can do on offense and you're keeping that pressure at bay so that Drake May now has that option game. He also has play action involved where he's going to be even a better quarterback. So I think it's all about the running game. But the thing about the running game, and I just want to run by this run this by you because you know a lot more than I do. But when we look at the running game, it doesn't necessarily have to be first down run, second down run, third down pass. There's no reason you can't establish the run game off the pass game. And I think so many teams sometimes don't do that. And it puts them in really, really difficult positions oftentimes where you now have the quarterback in second and 12, third and 9, which is not a good place to be. So you can have that balance on offense. But if they can run the football, I think they'll be able to move it against Carolina and keep that pressure off of Drake May.
Yeah, and I think when you look at this Carolina defense, their strength is in the secondary. I think the Patriots are going to have a hard time throwing the football against this team. It's not to say that Drake May can't have a big game because he certainly can, but that's where their talent is. You talk about J.C. Horn, one of the more talented cornerbacks in the league. They added Trayvon Mooring, free agent from the Las Vegas Raiders, in that secondary. So they've got guys in that secondary that can cover. They can play man-to-man. They can play zone. They can blend coverages. They can disguise and rotate. They can do a lot of different things. And so to your point about the importance of the running game this week, yes, you will have to contend with Derek Brown up front inside. But this is a front you should be able to run the football on. You mentioned they give up 5.4 yards per carry. The question for the Patriots is going to be, who's going to start the game at running back? I don't believe that it's Ramondre Stevenson. I don't think he starts this week. I think it's Antonio Gibson. It's Trayvon Henderson. And, John, I'll take it a step further. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him today at all.
Yeah, it could be, right? 2 fumbles against the Steelers, 7 last year. You just can't have that type of production or lack of production, especially where he was losing the football. When they had all the momentum in the world, and next thing you know, they're turning it over after having a long drive and kind of dominating, especially the middle part of that game. I mean, it was 14-0 Pittsburgh. From that point forward, the Patriots were a much better team than the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they kept giving it back to the Steelers. I'd be surprised if he plays. I really would. I think it's time to maybe sit him down, get his head clear, make sure that he's concentrating on ball security, which, again, as a coach, how much can you do as a coach? It still comes down to the player has to concentrate on this. I mean, we're going to do like we did in high school and have the kids sleep with the football in bed and to make sure that he's comfortable with it, or walk down the halls in high school and have everybody bat at it. I mean, I remember Tom Coughlin used to do that with Tiki Barber. And, he did get better at that. But, yeah, no, you can't have a running back who's a good running back, too. I mean, you can kind of live with Adrian Peterson when he had fumble issues because he might go for 185 and, drop a 75-yard touchdown run in the middle of it. You still don't want him fumbling. But, in this case, Ramondre Stevenson's not Adrian Peterson. He's a good, solid back, but you can't live with those fumbles.
No, you can't. But I will say this, and I've been asked a lot about this the last couple of days. I don't know what benching does, though. Mm-hmm. I definitely would not start him. He's in his own head right now. I'd give him a good week of practice. I wouldn't start him, but I wouldn't bench him either. I just don't know what benching him does. I mean, I know people like, it's going to send a message. One of our axioms is ball security and taking care of the ball. And I understand that. And all that sounds good. But you don't win football games if your best players aren't on the field. It's the ultimate players game. You need your best 11 on the field. He's your best back. Trayvon Henderson has a lot of talent. He could eventually become your best running back. But at this moment, 4 weeks into the 2025 regular season, Ramondre Stevenson, and he proved it week 2 against Miami, he is your best running back. And so in some ways, John, I kind of feel like you're cutting your nose to spite your face if you bench him. If you let's say you bring up someone from the practice squad and go Antonio Gibson, Henderson, and whoever else you want to have as your third back, that's fine. But I just don't see the benefit of sitting him. Do I limit his snaps? Yes. Do I make Gibson and Henderson the focal point of the running game this week, both in practice and today? Yes. But I think at the end of the day, to just flat out bench him and discard him, psychologically, I don't think that's good for him.
Sometimes players don't recover from that, right? They lose all the confidence in the world.
Because what that says is we don't trust you. That's what that says, in my opinion.
And I may not be the brightest guy in the world. I guarantee you Ramondre Stevenson doesn't want to fumble the football. He's not going out there and saying, I'm going to fumble because I don't care. This is a stretch that he's been in since last season. Hopefully he can clear it up. And I think you make a great point that this is your best back still, and you need him 15 carries, maybe 3 or 4 catches, close to 20 touches altogether, and he could be a valuable member of that offense because they have to run the football. When they do, their offense opens up and takes a lot of pressure off of Drake May. And you're going against an opponent that you should run the football against effectively, without question. So try to at least embrace him with that. Maybe get him involved a little bit in the passing game because I think he's solid there. And I'm just going to be interested to see how much Drake May runs. Any design runs. I believe he had 7 carries last week against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, a lot of his runs, though, are things break down and he puts it down and takes off.
Yeah. I mean, are you in favor of more design runs from him? Because he can run. He's a very viable runner. Obviously, you want to protect your quarterback. You don't want him getting hit as often as that. But he is a valuable weapon as a runner.
He is. You could sell me on maybe 3 or 4 of them a game, but I wouldn't run him as much as Buffalo has run Josh Allen in the past. No. I wouldn't run him as much as Baltimore runs Lamar Jackson. I wouldn't run him much at all, John, because I think he's at his best when things break down and he could put it down and take off and scamper for 15 yards and get you a first down. I think that's where he gives you more as a runner than he would if you ran some type of a zone read with him or some type of a quarterback power or quarterback stretch with him. I don't know how much he gives you with that stuff. I think he gives you more when it's more of a natural thing to him where, things are breaking down. Here, I went through my first read in the progression, went through my second read. I don't have it. I'm not waiting for the check down. I'm out of here. That's where I think he's at his best. I don't know how much you'd get out of him on the design quarterback run stuff. I would almost do more with RPOs with him, even though you set those up with your running game, specifically your quarterback run game. I would do more with run pass options with him or SPO screen pass options than I would with design quarterback runs. And the other thing is, man, he had a couple of concussions last year. You've got to be careful with this kid. You don't want to derail his career early with head injuries. You got to protect him. He hit the ground pretty hard the other day early in that game against Pittsburgh. You've got to be careful with that part of it too. So I'm not sure I run him too much.
So maybe use him the way the Chargers use Justin Herbert. They won't necessarily draw up run plays for him, but he has that ability if things break down, which they don't break down that much. He can take off. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And again, he doesn't.
Don't get me wrong. Oftentimes people forget this, but as a defensive coordinator, you have to prepare for that. You can't just prepare for their design run plays with their quarterback. If you're facing a scrambling quarterback that week, rush lane integrity becomes a conversation. Maybe in certain situations, you sugar rush him. Your linebackers have to be more disciplined in their drops and rallying back downhill to the ball. They can't overextend themselves. It does impact the way you cover in certain situations and what you call. I know people love to talk about spy and all that other stuff. The spy thing is overdone. But the bottom line is you do have to account for him, because if he puts it down and takes off, we saw it on 2 or 3 separate occasions last week. If he puts it down and takes off, he can get to the sticks and get you a first down. So I would kind of let him do his thing when things break down, but you want to develop him as a pocket passer. So I know if I were in Josh McDaniel's shoes, I wouldn't force it with the design quarterback stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the concussion issue is there. Once you get a couple of those, you're always susceptible to more. Obviously, you want to develop him as that pocket passer. He throws the ball so effortlessly. Like, he's just got such a natural, easy motion. Yeah, on just about any throw he makes. Now, he's not always accurate, but you just see the release, the way the ball comes out of his hand, the way it spins, the power. He's got to still work on his accuracy. But again, these are things that you can work on. He's 23 years old. So I think that's something that they have to concentrate more. Again, when they keep bringing up the comparisons to Josh Allen, it's kind of idiotic. But you watch when Buffalo's playing, the opposition doesn't even want to rush the passer. It's like a controlled rush, because if he steps up, he's on his way to a 12-yard run. Or if you come up the middle, he's just going to go to the outside and outrun everybody. And he had a touchdown pass last week where he scrambled out and kind of gave a little shovel pass for a touchdown. That guy's a freak. So let's not try to compare anybody to him. But yeah, I think you need to be the pocket passer and be the best that you can. And it's just, again, more confidence in the offensive line, ability to run the football, take some pressure off him. I think they're going to run the football effectively today against Carolina. And if they do that, I think they're going to open up the offense and I believe, win comfortably. Comfortably for the Patriots is 10 to 14 points, but still, nonetheless, it'd be nice for the first time in his career to see Drake May taking 3 knees at the end of the game instead of, trying to rally the team or whatever, or try to come from behind.
Some players to watch on that Carolina defense. I mentioned J.C. Horn, Trayvon Mooring, DJ Wanham is probably their best pass rusher, and of course Derek Brown, who is an all-pro, Pro Bowl caliber defensive tackle, one of the best in the league. The interior of the Patriots offensive line is going to have their hands full with him. All right, looking at the Panthers offense, of course, we talked about Bryce Young. Look, 5'11", couple 100 pounds, plus arm talent, athletic, can make plays. The reality is he looks like a little boy playing quarterback in the NFL. He's like a middle schooler playing on a high school team. The talent is there. And I don't want to take anything away from the kid because he's won some big games for him the last couple of years, and he's made some plays when he's needed to. But he is not a guy, sure, he can extend plays. He's not Drake May running the football, but he is a guy that can extend plays. But the bottom line is this: if the Patriots are able to hem him in, keep him in the pocket, make him have to win from the pocket, they should be able to handle this passing game. Because even when you look at him on the perimeter, John, you've got Ted McMillan, the rookie from Arizona. You've got Xavier Legette. But they're not a team outside of Chuba Hubbard, who I think is their best skill guy, their starting running back. But they're not a team on the perimeter. They're going to be without former Holy Cross standout Jalen Coker. He's currently out right now. But they're not a team that really they have size at receiver. I mean, McMillan could potentially be a matchup problem depending on who lines up on him. But they don't have that perimeter skill that when you look at them, you say, wow, the Patriots have a lot here that they need to defend. In many ways, this is a good matchup for their struggling secondary, assuming, of course, Christian Gonzalez doesn't play.
Yeah, without question, because, again, Ted McMillan is a rookie. He has an interesting skill set, but, again, he's obviously learning going into his 4th game of his career. And I think the key, obviously, with Bryce Young is keep him in the pocket, as you said, John. Once he's extending plays, then it becomes difficult. But he's not a guy like Kyler Murray who can extend a play and then take it for a 30, 40-yard gain. He's not quite as mobile and as explosive as Kyler Murray. The thing about Bryce Young that I find so interesting, there's short quarterbacks, right? I mean, Russell Wilson, 5'10 and a half, Kyler Murray, 5'10, Bryce Young, 5'10, 5'11. This guy is small. Like Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson.
We're missing your mouth again, by the way.
Oh, geez. Well, what I'm going to have to do is I do have
This is the John Sapochetti experience, by the way.
Yes,
a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
A lot of knowledge, knows his sports in and out. We just got to make sure we remind him to keep
We'll get the technical
up.
stuff. Yeah, I'm almost like the bad offensive line coach that has no clue what he's doing, but still coaches the guys up pretty well. So what we'll do with Bryce Young is he's so small, like tiny. Like you said, he looks like a middle school kid playing with the high schoolers. It's just when I see him getting sacked, I'm like, is this kid going to get up? And he does. But I think that they should keep him in the pocket, like you said, and that's going to make him have to do things that he's not naturally great at.
Well, the other thing is you got to stop Chuba Hubbard. I mean, if they can get him going, he hasn't gotten off to a good start. He was really good for them last year. Their offensive line is mid. They're not good up front. I mean, they've got, you've got a couple guys that are strong run blockers, but for the most part, this Carolina offensive line is not an offensive line that when you look at them, they're a bunch of road graders that you're going to have to worry about. I think Milton Williams, Christian Barmore inside could potentially have a big day. I think that Kayvon Chason, Harold Landry on the edge should be able to set an edge against this offensive line in this group and defend the run. Key for me is it's Chuba Hubbard. If you can control the line of scrimmage and get this Carolina offense into 2nd and long, 3rd and long, you're going to be in pretty good shape because, again, I think from a matchup standpoint, the Patriots should be able to match up against this skill group. It's a matter of winning the line of scrimmage and controlling Hubbard. If you can keep him in check, because they become tough to defend. We saw it at times last year with them. They become tough to defend when they establish that running game with him, and he could start to become their number one playmaker, both as a runner and as a receiver. And when that happens, they tend to become tough to play against because now Bryce Young doesn't have to win the game for him. Bryce Young, Dave Canellis, their head coach, primary play caller, can put him in a position where he can make successful plays in the passing game. So for me, it really comes down to win the line of scrimmage, keep Hubbard in check. If you can do that, put it on Young and that passing game to have to win the game for the Carolina Panthers.
And at the end of last year, they became very impressive. I mean, because I think we had question marks about Bryce Young in his first year and a half. And then at the end of last year, that offense kind of came together. They were in some shootouts against Arizona or Tampa Bay while teams were fighting for playoff spots. So you could see that they do have some potential to be a good offense. But again, it all starts with the run game. You're right. If there's 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2, opens up the playbook for the offense, and Bryce Young can do more stuff. If you've got him in 2nd and 12, 3rd and 9, that's not a good spot for just about any quarterback in the league. So controlling the running game is going to be key for the Patriots, as we've talked about several times. Carolina averages 3.7 yards per carry. If you can keep them at that, you should be able to control that. And if you're able to run the football, Carolina gives up 5.4 yards per carry. If you can approach that, I think you're going to be in good shape in this game.
And, of course, former Dallas Cowboy great Rico Dowdle backs up Chuba Hubbard. So there you go. I wasn't going to get through the whole show without a Rico Dowdle reference, Sap.
Of course not.
That's too great a name not to mention.
Right. And Andy Dalton's still the backup there, right? I mean, he's never going to leave the league. Yeah, the Red Rifle, he's out of ammunition at this point.
He is. Yeah, I don't know how effective the rifle is anymore.
No.
All righty, final thoughts here, and give us a prediction here. How do you think this thing plays out, and do the Patriots win or lose?
I think they win, and I think they win comfortably. I'm going to say 27-13. Offensively, they'll run the football. Drake May will be not a game manager, but he'll be able to basically be the guy who makes the plays when necessary, but they're going to run the football effectively against Carolina. And that Patriots pass rush, which is a pretty serious thing, I think will be able to control Bryce Young. I say 27-13, and again, 3-16 since the start of 2023 at home. It's about time that they win and win comfortably and start to build some momentum going forward after the first month.
Yeah, that 3-16 stat resonates with you, right? Because when you go back to the Brady Belichick era and you think to how dominant they were at home and how much of an aura that they had at home, and to see how bad they are at home now, it's startling. Nobody wanted to come here and play this team during the dynasty years, whether it be the first half of the dynasty, second half of the dynasty. Other teams did not like coming here, especially later on in the season and in the playoffs. So it is hard to believe that they've been so bad at home and that they've lost their mojo so much. I agree with you. I think they get their mojo back this week. I think they win 28-14. I think Drake May has a good day at the offense. I think that the running game is good. It'll be interesting to see, whether or not Ramondre Stevenson plays today or not. But the bottom line is I think they get their mojo back. They win by a couple of scores, and you need it because you're not at home after this for 3 weeks. So you want to leave a good taste in the fans' mouth as you embark on this 3-game roadie, because at the end of the day, you want your fans to feel pretty good about this football team. And again, coming into this season, we all thought that this is an 8-9 win team. If they're going to get to that number, and it's increasingly looking like they're probably not, but if they're still going to get to that 8-9 win number, you got to win today. These are the games you got to win. They still have a lot of winnable games on their schedule, but it starts today. Take care of business against this team. You're better than them. And go to Buffalo next Sunday night and see if you can put on a good showing in front of a national television audience. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the Patriots Pulse Preview. For John Sapochetti, I'm John Sarianides. We will be back with you next week. Until then, enjoy the game today, and we'll talk to you later. Peace.